dark few days for me. You know, one of those weeks where everywhere you look for like a ray of hope, you look for some light, but everything looks dark. And I know it's a state of mind, and I know that for myself, the most important thing is to be able to get some positive thinking, some joy back, and this is the first step, but it's easier said than done. So those of you who feel the same, and also for myself, I want to share a story from my childhood. It's a story about a very joyful person I met as a kid. It's a story about true love, and it's a story about one very special tree. It's raw, no editing, no grammar, no English, just like the way I remember it and the way I wrote it. So here it is, the dentist tree. The best magician I've ever met was actually a dentist. I met him when I was 10 years old. He used to come to our small kibbutz every Wednesday, driving his little Simca over the narrow, hilly road. Although he immigrated to Israel many years ago, his Hebrew was a complete disaster. He was disrupting every second word, made up words that never exist, and inserts Spanish in the middle of sentences whenever he feels like it. But none of that really mattered. His voice was so sweet and full of love, you want him to keep talking forever. He was always dressed very elegantly, as if he was about to meet the queen in 10 minutes, and used to wear an exotic aftershave with such a strong scent, it makes our head spin and cause all the dogs around the clinic to sneeze for days. He was a performer. The clinic was his stage, and he loved every minute of it. The light at the clinic was dimmed, and Spanish serenades was playing in the back. In the middle of the room, coming in and out of the strong dentist light above the treatment chair, he performed his magics. During the treatments, balls, cards, and little plastic toys emerged from his sleeves. All of a sudden, you could hear little explosion, and white powder would block the view so you can't see him for a second. But hear his laugh, and then he would appear from the other side of the chair. He never repeat the same trick twice, and never cease to surprise me. So fast and brilliant with his hands. They fly around your mouth in such a way it was hard to tell if he's actually touching anything. And you never felt any pain. Even if he gives you the needle, you wouldn't see it and wouldn't know you got it until some part of your mouth suddenly felt numb. It was such a great show. You didn't want the treatment to end. And as soon as it was over, you start thinking about your next appointment. Some kids who didn't want to wait start complaining about tooth pain just to see him earlier. When they come, he knew they had nothing right away, but play the game along. In fact, nothing made him happier than those unnecessary appointments. That was when he was at its best. He gave those kids an even longer than usual treatment with bigger explosions, performing the best tricks on them. He looked so busy working his tools that some kids thought maybe after all they did actually have something. He was the warmest person I've ever met. Never stopped smiling, and always so proud and impressed of how much we grew up from the last visit. Sometimes, when he moves around the strong dentist light, I saw bright particles engulfing him around the thick aftershave cloud. One late afternoon, after a day of work in the kibbutz, the dentist drive his Simcha along the steepy, curvy, narrow road back home. When he got to the top of the ridge of our canyon, he stopped the car by the side of the road and stepped outside. He climbed on a little hill and looked at the Sea of Galilee below. Last rays of sun painted the Golan Heights in red and created long silver lines along the water. Through his sweet aftershave fumes, the dentist enjoyed a deep breath of fresh air and decided that this is the most beautiful place in the world. Next Wednesday, when he drove to the kibbutz, the dentist planted a margosa tree on top of that little hill. Each week, the dentist stopped beside the road, water his tree, weed around it, and talk to him with his broken Hebrew. Just like the dentist, the tree seemed to be happy with the view and the fresh air. And just like us, he probably couldn't wait for the next visit. Every time we drove to and from the kibbutz, when we got to the spot on top of the ridge, we used to look through the window and say, "The dentistry!" One day, I came to the clinic for a routine checkup. I haven't seen the dentist for a long time and was very excited. But he wasn't there. The nurse could see the surprise and disappointment all over my face, so she took me to the side and whispered in my ear, "The dentist had a heart attack and died." I turned around and got out of the clinic without saying anything. I kept walking down the road out of the kibbutz to the canyon and then climbed up to the dentist tree. The tree looks very healthy and was already about 2 meters high. I sat under the tree looking at the Sea of Galilee and cried until it was completely dark. Even today, 40 years later, the dentistry is still there, looking at the most beautiful view in the world. But the day the dentist died, the tree stopped growing up. It survived harsh winters and heat waves. His trunk matured and got a lot wider, but he refuses to grow up high like any other margosa tree and remain at the exact same height as it was the last time the dentist visited him. Few days after I turned 50, I met Alina. I was divorced for 8 years and didn't think I would find love again. But the second I saw her, I knew. She was beautiful. She made me feel safe. She made me feel at home. She made me want to sing and dance, although I'm horrible at both. Elena lives 5,000 miles away, and I wanted her to come with me to Canada. I knew it was against all odds. she had to leave her home, her family, her friends, and her job. All of a sudden, the master of words, who always knew how to charm and seduce and ask and often get, was speechless. I was flying the next day and decided to show her the most beautiful place in the world. We sat beside the tree and I told her the story. Then Alina came closer to the tree, smell few leaves, and start laughing. I can swear it has the scent of a sweet aftershave. She came to me and kissed me, the best kiss I've ever got. And without me asking a thing, she whispered, "Yes, I will come with you." The sun just set and painted the water surface of the Sea of Galilee in orange lines. I looked at the tree. For a split of a second, all the leaf shines in a bright light, and I knew the dentist, the best magician I've ever met, did it again. Adios.